So this then is RavenEye, and the reason I'm using this system is I wanted to see how realistic does it look. I mean, would you actually believe for a second that this is actually a real operator filming me, or is the motion such that you would be like, there's no way that's a real human? A real human just doesn't move like that. A real human could not perform these kind of actions. So I decided I would take it into post and I would try to mimic some of this, some of the more human-like motion. Now I'm going to say some things about this gimbal, this RSC2. And the main thing I'm going to say is there is noise. As I'm filming this, I'm noticing there's definitely noise artifacts in this. There's definitely, I can hear the gimbal. So if I had a microphone directly mounted, as a matter of fact, I got one better than that. I did have a microphone directly mounted to this yesterday. I was just mucking about with it just to see what it can do. And I noticed that I was picking up a fair amount of noise coming from the camera. And it was subtle, and it was kind of this low frequency noise, but it was definitely there, and it almost felt like little thumps and bumps as I was using the as I was having the gimbal automatically, you know, track me. And I don't think that's really desirable. I think that in and of itself, I'm not going to say it will ruin the experience of this gimbal. I do think though it's probably not the best thing. So there is that. Now I'm going to change out, I'm going to try a couple different lenses on this. I want to try, this is the 24, which is a great lens, a 24 f1.4. As you know, is a Sony lens, it is a G Master lens, and it is representative of the type in many different ways. It is a really good lens. But that said, I think that maybe for this kind of shot, maybe with this tracking, maybe I want to try something a bit tighter. So I'm going to try the 40, I'm going to try the 85. I want to see how those feel. And I think even though this gimbal is great, I think with the Sony and having the gyro stabilization, I almost feel like this gimbal is better suited to this kind of thing, to doing the tracking shots, to give you that extra person on set, as it were, as opposed to being used like a traditional gimbal. Because I think that this camera, with a fairly wide lens like an 18mm, maybe even the 20, 24, if 24 is pushing it, maybe the 18 is best, and using a non-motorized gimbal, or not non-motorized gimbal, a non-motorized tripod to hold it is probably perfect if you're going to take it into Catalyst Browse and then, you know, do the stabilization in post. This camera has a lot of tricks, and combined with this setup where you have a gimbal with a tracking system, I think you have a really powerful tool. I think that it's actually possible. I mean, I've got a little mic here. You can't see it, hopefully. Oh, maybe you can. No, it's not peeking out. I'm good. So the point is that combined with this system, I think you have a very powerful filmmaking kit. So believe it or not, I'm actually controlling this whole thing. I mean, I'm using essentially this phone, and with it, I'm able to control the entire damn thing. So this phone to me, and that's it. Everything. It's amazing. And I never thought the day would come that I could just so easily control a camera that is nowhere near me. But that's exactly what I'm doing. And I think the technology is absolutely amazing. I'm actually holding a light. If you can see it, see that? I'm holding this light. I'm working the camera with a phone. This is nuts. So another place where I really find this active track to be interesting is when we're doing shots that really are going to be, say, just panning shots. And I love this feature. If you notice this, I'm actually navigating this camera by myself. I'm able to look down, look up, and I can do this pretty effectively. And I'm not even trying. It's way easier than a regular tripod, to be honest. I mean, I've used regular tripods, but as far as just doing something like this, panning down, panning up, you need a pretty good tripod to do that smooth. But it seems that this gimbal is able to do that shot pretty smoothly without a lot of effort, and that might be a big deal, potentially. So I'm trying to see what I can set this to actually work, and I think that maybe the faster the lens, the slower the speed you have to set it to. Well, not the faster, I think maybe the tighter the lens, the slower the reaction you have to set active track to. Because it seems that when I don't set it to a very slow speed, like it's currently set at 10, when I set it to something that's maybe too fast, it will do this panning back and forth thing and just ruin the shot. I mean, nobody in their right mind, no cameraman in their right mind, there it goes again, would do this. This is madness. Let me try turning this down. Okay, so now I've turned down the active track to 7. So it's at 85mm, the lens is probably about maybe 7 feet from me, give or take. And I've set it now to active track on 7, and the idea is that maybe at this setting, it's not going to be doing this whip pan thing, back and forth, back and forth. I don't know what's up with that. Honestly, I think it may be DJI. I think maybe that it should be communicating the lens because it needs that data to really set up active track properly, or maybe we as users just have to be cognizant of the fact that we're using a faster, a tighter lens, not faster, but a tighter lens, and set our active track correspondingly to better accommodate that kind of lens. I think overall it's an amazing technology. I'm not going to knock it. Look, the idea that I can have a virtual cameraman and I can essentially be hands-free, look, hands-free, and I'm doing this and the camera is just following me is amazing to me. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. Do we have work to do? Is there still further this technology can progress? I think that this technology is going to follow in the same vein as autofocus did, that you're going to start off essentially with a technology that's quasi-usable, and I think that's where we are now. It's sort of usable. It's not perfect, but it definitely has niche areas where it can be utilized, and to pretty good effect, I think. But I think it's really sort of in its infancy with room to grow. I think as artificial intelligence gets better, this technology will get better too. Machine learning algorithms, all of this is going to help to make this a more usable technology. But I think we're at the stage where we are with, say, well, I hate to say it, but we're kind of where Panasonic is with autofocus, where they have autofocus and it's sort of usable, but it's sort of not usable because it tends to do this hunting thing, and that's what this is doing. It's doing the hunting thing. It doesn't always do it, but it definitely does it. And it's not because the motors aren't fast enough or the system isn't robust enough. The motors in here are plenty fast to keep up with me. The system as a whole is plenty robust enough to handle the weight of everything I have on here. Easily can handle this. This is the A7S3. I have on here the wireless microphone kit. It can easily handle this setup. But again, what is letting the system down is essentially the lack of a more refined tracking algorithm. But it's close, it's getting there, it has so much potential. I do think maybe the next iteration or the one after that, this system will probably be perfect, as good as say phase detect, autofocus, if you want an equivalent in the camera world.